Thank you so much for having me here today. I do have a report or what's going on with the Los Alamitos schools. It's been an interesting journey, and let me just say that it is nothing like I thought it would be. Let me start off with that. The Los Alamitos schools, the school board, I should say, went ahead and they voted in everything we didn't want them to vote in. So let me just let you know that. One of the other things that happened, we did have I guess we had a conservative on the board, but it didn't show, and maybe we didn't support her the way we should have. We tried, but that didn't work out. I do want you to know that it's been a difficult journey, but I still think this is a journey that's worth it. And I think that all of us have to try and put on our armor of God and protect children, because they are being abused in this system. There's a couple of slides I'd like to show you guys, simply because I want to shock you into action. I want you to the slides that I want to show you basically have to do with what they're teaching in schools right now. Some people that I've talked to, I don't think that they believe me when I tell them how bad it is. So I remember years ago that this is when I went through my teacher training. I never taught, by the way, but I did have all the training. And I was talking to my husband, and I told him how terrible things were, and I was explaining to him why I was never going to use it. Anyway, he of course supported me. He listened to everything I had to say, but I don't think he really believed me. My mother, who's a teacher, I know she didn't believe me, because I had to hurry and drive over to her house and show her some of the things that they were teaching the teachers. So what I am trying to explain to you is that it was the teacher's training was so bad, in my opinion, that I didn't feel I could go forward and teach that to children. That's how bad I thought it was.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So when I showed it to my mother, she was really appalled. And my mother was an old school teacher. She was one of those teachers that when you didn't do what you were supposed to do and you continually went down that road, she showed up at your house. And I'm not kidding. There was a guy, a couple of her students was at my mom's funeral. And they actually had some really funny stories. But, you know, looking up from whatever you're doing and seeing your teacher knock on your front door is not the best scenario, right? But she did it. So I told my mother, I said, you'd be arrested for some of the stuff you did. But this is really so bad that what we're doing now to children is that we're trying to convince them that they are either, as Barbie said, oppressed, or they're an oppressor. And I don't see how you can lift up one child by pushing another one down. It's impossible. And one of the things that I've said many times in some of the talks I've given is about how critical race theory, and they didn't call it this back in the day, but it's critical race theory nonetheless, how it has affected black people. They've been teaching black people critical race theory for years. And trust me, it's stuck. Not for everybody, but I will tell you that it has been so well formed or indoctrinated into that population that no matter the education they receive, no matter the heights that they are able to achieve in their careers, none of it matters. They still believe there is systemic racism no matter what. So I don't understand how the rest of us, or whoever doesn't believe in critical race theory, if we allow this to continue, and once we've indoctrinated the kids, you know it's over, right? I feel like we're on the train right now. We're on the train toward the gas chambers. We really are. And if we don't wake up, because there's so many people, you've got a whole segment segment of the Black population and other minorities that believe this victimhood. They are convinced about their victimhood. So since they're convinced, we have the majority of the United States is still white America. And I'm on a mission to try to inform you and to get you to help the rest of America. Because you're a majority, I feel like if we can just get the low-hanging fruit, the people who are willing to do something, then maybe we can save this. But the train is clacking down the tracks. I'm letting you know that. So I hope you don't find this something that you can dismiss. And in terms of, for example, the critical race theory that we're trying to get out of Los Alamitos schools, I will tell you that it's been in Los Angeles Unified for years and years and years. It's been in Long Beach Unified for years. That's why we never went there and tried to stop what they were doing in those cities, because it's been implemented so long. And so some of those kids that you're seeing running around over the last summer, burning down places, those are some of the kids that they indoctrinated into believing that what they're doing is right. So this is where we are. So you know all these words that basically tell you, oops, it's not. There's a lot of different words that tell you that critical race theory is really what they're teaching. And these are some of the phrases that they use. I'm not going to go through them, but I just want you to see them. Barbie talked about the implicit bias, for example, when she talked about the salesperson and their choice of what they're going to do. What they're saying is this person is racist either way. It's a catch-22. There's no way to get out of it. So when you have all these new words that they make up, they do this on purpose, right, because they don't want you to understand what they're saying. They try to make it seem as though, oh, this is the pedagogy that we have implemented for your child. And they go through this. I remember this one lady got up and she talked about it's not critical race theory, it's culturally responsive pedagogy. Okay, whatever you want to call it, it's still bad. And I want to show you something. Well, there's a couple of things I want to show you, but quickly, I got to go through this really quickly. I want you to, this is a definition of critical race theory, but the really important part is where it says society must be fundamentally transformed through moral, economic, and political revolution. Now, you guys remember, they tell you what they're going to do, right?
Yes.
They always tell you. They're telling you.
Yes.
They want to change it all. And that means you. So because they're done with black people, now they're coming for you. So either hear what they're saying or stay on the train, okay? Or get off the train and get your kids off the train. Get your neighbors' kids off the train. Get your nieces and nephews off the train. This is kind of how it went in Los Alamitos. They have this whole four-pronged approach that they plan to take, and they, like I said, voted it all in. One of the things that they told parents to get them to calm down about the critical race theory is that, hey, this is just going to be, the ethnic studies course is just an elective. Well, guess what? The state of California is in the process right now of voting that in as a mandatory graduation requirement. So all the school districts everywhere, all over California, are racing to put this stuff in, and I believe there's money associated with it. I don't know, I can't prove it, but I believe it to be true, because there's only one reason why everybody says the exact same thing in all the school districts I've been hopping around to. I've done town halls for not just the Los Al School District, but Tustin and Fullerton and San Juan Capistrano, and they're all using the same playbook. We had an awful summer, George Floyd, it was all awful, it was racist, black people are being systemically, murdered. Police get up out of their bed every day thinking, where am I gonna find a black person to kill? It's so bad, and obviously people believe this, but how can every single school district have the exact same line? And then they tell you that they're not teaching critical race theory. That we know that that's not true, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But then the social justice standards. those are even more evasive because it lands in every single class of your child's day. Every class, every grade, every class. So that's from kindergarten to 12th grade. Think about that. And they feel that they should be embedding race in every class. So this is outrageous. This is where, this was just a quick article that I saw, and black parents during the pandemic got upset with the whole Zoom classes. They saw a lot of things they didn't like. And one of the things that they said were that the teachers were substandard. Well, you know why the teachers were substandard? They were substandard because of this human relations portion. That human relations portion, that diversity, equity, inclusion, when you hear that, you know it's a problem. And that is the part where they start hiring teachers based on race and not based on their ability. Think about that. So when you start hiring people based on race, and I used to be human resources, that was my last job before I retired. I didn't hire anybody based on race, ever, ever. I don't vote for anybody based on race. I didn't marry based on race. That's my husband right there. I'm not racist. I would have been happy to marry a black man. I just didn't happen to fall in love with one. So, you know, it just is what it is. And by the way, my parents love him. They did. So what I'm saying is that when you start hiring teachers based on race, you are going to end up with substandard teaching, and that is what your child is going to be exposed to all day. In addition to that, part of the credential that a teacher receives in California means that they have critical race theory as a part of that credential. They don't call it that. Again, flowery words, it's called multicultural education. So they might have had another sea change by then, because that was 20 years ago when I did that. So maybe they have a new word for it, because once you catch on to the old word, then they change it, so you don't know what it is again. So you have to pay attention, always. So again, this is what the black families are starting to find out. But see, they're still clueless as to why they don't like the teachers in their classroom. They don't understand that it's equity that is causing them to have poor teachers for their schools. This was one that just really killed me, because I guess this is how you gaslight people. When Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, is busy telling people that she is afraid for her children to go out driving because they might get pulled over while driving while black. This is insane, and it is insulting to me. Yeah. I mean, here she is in her Martha's Vineyard, her $15 million Martha's Vineyard estate, explaining to me about how I should be worried about driving while black. Or you. Don't listen to this junk. The other thing is the social justice standards. I just want to mention them because they're so important. These are the things that they're trying to implement K-12 in Los Al. So K-12, they're going to be attacking, and I know it's small and you can't read it, but it says, it's talking about the 4 anchor domains that they're going to be implementing. And they have to do with identity, diversity, justice, and action. And I will tell you, the only reason that they are digging and diving into these things is because they want to take over your children. Yes. Why does someone need to know your child's identity beyond their name? Why are they trying to have your child tell you about all these different identities that they have? So in other words, they're supposed to tell and share with the class all their different identities. I had one parent who said privately to the teacher, my son is autistic. He doesn't even really know he's autistic. We haven't really discussed that. And I don't know that that's something that even if he knew that he wants to share. She goes, oh, no, he should share that. I'm thinking, why? Why does he need to share that? The only thing you need to know to teach a child is their name. You might need to know their learning style. There are other things that might be helpful in teaching that child, but certainly you don't need to go through all the family's business to know how you're going to teach that child. And they're calling that culturally responsive instruction, you see? And that's part of that intersectionality, because if they know your gender and your race and your religion and all these other things about you, I guess they're going to cook up some special teaching to hand to your child. I think it's to put your child in a box.
Yes.
They want to put your child in a box that they can identify. They can't put me in a box.
Have community
They tried to put me in a box. Every time I show up, especially in a board meeting, I had this one lady, she said, "Oh my God, I was so scared when you went to the podium until I heard what you had to say." She thought I was going to stand there and talk about how wonderful critical race theory is. But see, again, you know, you shouldn't put people in a box. So this is just all no good. And the action item on this social justice standards I really want to tell you about, because this is where they train your child to be an activist. And if you think they're going to show up at a pro-life rally, think again. They're not. Because what they're doing is that they're ginning your kid up to show up at BLM rallies, and they actually say it. The lesson plans include glorifying BLM. They glorify George Floyd. They glorify, I don't know if you guys remember, Angela Davis. They hold her up on a pedestal. She's a domestic terrorist. I mean, these are some of the people and some of the things that they think are so wonderful. And this is what they're teaching your child. And somehow they're going to find a way to incorporate it into every single solitary class. So one of the things I want to tell you about next steps, please go to californiaschoolchoice.org and make sure that you sign up, because what California School Choice does, it's going to make an educational savings account for every single child. They'll take the Prop 98 money, they'll divide it up by all the 6 million or however many students in the state of California, and they will divide that money up. It'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of $12,000 to $14,000. That's what they're estimating. It goes into your child's account every single year. And when that money goes into that account, you can then take your child to any accredited school that you want them to attend. And trust me, schools will pop up everywhere. I know that there are several people that I know of personally that want to open schools. And this is something that we can vote for. So even though I need your action at other places, school board meetings, writing letters to editors, so on and so forth, this is something that every single person can do. They can go to californiaschoolchoice.org. There are materials in the back, and you can pick those up. Once you have that educational savings account, let's say you don't spend all the money, and you have money left over every year, maybe because you homeschool, so the whole thing's there. Or maybe the school you chose is only $5,000 instead of $12,000. So all that money adds up, and it stays in your child's account until they're 30. So then they can use that money to attend a California college or any vocational school they want to attend. So this is really very important. And one of the things that it will also do, kind of talked about that, one of the things that it will do is it will get rid of the union power. Think about it. That is what your powers are. The unions are driving this train. They're driving this train. They're the ones who get your lousy books. I've talked to the administrators about the superintendent to say, buy better books. That's why you're trying to implement this critical race theory. They're saying we need it because these children need to learn about all the people in our, in America, the multicultural nature of the people who helped form America. That's what they're claiming. That's not what they're teaching. And that's not what the ethnic studies is. So if they got better books, a real history book, that had everybody in it to begin with, then you could eliminate a lot of this race hustling, race baiter stuff, like Black History Month. Sorry, but I just don't think it's necessary. If you teach history the way it's supposed to be taught, with everybody in it, why do you need a month? Do you have a month for everybody else? I mean, you don't. So why are you picking out? Because I'm tired of being picked on. Like Barbie said, I can't find my way to the DMV. I can't figure out how to take care of myself. So it really is very insulting. So when we take away this union power, power and we have the opportunity to buy and purchase books from reputable authors who are relaying true American history and not something like the 1619 Project. These things, this critical race theory is perception. It's your perception of how you see America. That's what they're trying to change.
Yes.
Your perception. In other words, if I walk into a store and I get poor service, I could think, oh my, she had a bad day. Or, wow, she's a poor salesperson. It takes so much for me to get to the point where I'm thinking, oh, is that racist? I never go there. I mean, what's the point? There is no point to it. So it's your perception of what happened. And if you don't perceive it as being racist, it's not. So you really have to hit me over the head with a hammer to make me believe it was racist. I mean, I just don't care. It's just not that important to me.
Yeah.
Because I know who I am. And I know what I do. So this school choice will give you also competition. It will make sure that your child can go to a Christian school. They can go to a sports school, a music school, a this school, or that school. It can be any kind of school they want. So this is something that's very important. And in addition to that, you could even have a critical race theory school if you really believe in it. You could have that. And I'll defend your right to have it. It's just like when I was a kid, I remember when we were taught about free speech. And one of the questions was, well, what about the Ku Klux Klan? Do they just get to go around saying whatever they want? And I was told, and this is back in the 60s, oh yes, they can say anything they want. That's what free speech means, and that's what we should be defending. Now, they don't have rights to put hands on you. That's a little bit different. But they have every right to say what they want. So if you want to be an idiot and say what you want to say out on the town square, then say it. If you want to have a critical race theory school and you can convince people to go, do it. But don't subject the rest of us to that. And so we really have to start pushing back. We have to start pushing back. And lastly, let's just give that olive branch to anybody who calls you a racist. And believe me, they called me a racist. They called us names. They've done all kinds of things that would stop you from actually pushing back against this critical race theory. They have silenced the parents. They've actually blackmailed everybody into silence. The parents don't want to say anything. Even some of the students say to the parents, please don't say anything because then I'm going to get ragged on at school and this is going to happen. It's really, that's how bad it is. So as a senior, I feel like we are obligated to say something. We're obligated to stand up because they can't cancel me. I'm done working, or at least I thought I was, but anyway, for money. Done working for money, so I feel like you can't fire me, and that it makes it perfect for seniors to be able to step up and help with this. And I also feel that if you have children at all, then you better be talking to your children every single day. If you have children in school, you must find out and just get them used to the routine of talking to them every single day. Because if you don't, what's going to happen, those messages are going to slip in. And you can trust me, once they're planted, they're very difficult to remove. And I can tell you that because I have so many cousins who believe in this stuff. And these are, again, people with education, masters, PhDs, I'm telling you. I have a lot of cousins all over the country, and they still believe it, even though they're living in their nice big house on the hill. So once it's there, it's very hard to remove. And even I've had all these parents doing all the different things that I've been doing lately that come to me and they say, my daughter and I aren't speaking anymore, and it's over all of this junk. And that's how far it gets embedded. She thought she had a great relationship with her daughter. I have a neighbor that's going through this. This is really where it creates division in your household. Yes. So once your kid believes that you're doing the wrong thing because you decided that you didn't want to, say, free up all the prisons, that's part of the social justice, right? Just let all the prisoners out because, boy, they had a hard time. And when I tried to explain to this one young person who was speaking to me while we were trying to get recall Gascon signatures, he couldn't really conceive of why I would want anybody to go to jail, black people. I said, look, if they release them, where do you think they're going to go? Right back into the community that they terrorized. So this helps no one. And he looked at me actually like I had two heads because he couldn't figure that out. So once this stuff is embedded in their minds, you are done. I'm just telling you this. So get off the train, get your kids off the train, and please get anybody else that you can pull off the train, pull them all off the train. Vote for California school choice, and make sure you talk to your children. Thank you so much.